absolute blast.
Please join me in welcoming our writer, director, and star, or at least one of them, Finn Wolfhard. Congratulations. And now we also have writer, director, and star, Bryk. And we also have star and producer, Hechinger. Congratulations again, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Love me a slasher movie, love me a horror comedy, so this is right up my alley. Another thing I really love talking about is long-standing collaborations and friendships in this industry. So, Finn and Billy, I wanted to ask you this really badly. Can you tell us a little bit about the first time you met and the first thing you each saw in the other that signaled to you, this right here is going to be a good creative partner for me?
Yeah, love at first sight. No, I remember Billy and I were both in Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I had met Billy on set. He was cast as kind of like
Zach.
Yeah, Zach. Everyone remembers Zach.
Everyone remembers Zach.
But he was sort of like a smaller. I guess like he played. I guess it was like a townie, like a kid who was like
I'm more literally, yeah. I work at the restaurant that you.
That I work at. Anyways, we became like really fast, close friends from that. And I remember like the first time thinking, like we had bonded over a lot of similar comedic. We had a very similar comedic sensibility. But I remember specifically there was one moment where we were eating at a restaurant with the rest of the cast, and there was someone that I won't name, who's very nice, but was talking, and I think basically started ordering for the whole table without asking anyone, and it was just this thing of no one had decided what they were gonna order yet, and he just started. And I remember Billy just kind of sitting there really shy and looking down, and he goes, "Huh, I guess we're ordering then." And it made me laugh so hard. It was so itchy and funny, and I was like, "Oh, this is the guy." For whatever reason, I remember that it's stuck in my memory. But yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a feeling that I would get along with Finn. I didn't know that it would be a creative partnership, but just because I remember seeing the films that he posted about and the comedians that he posted about really liking, and I just would be like, wow, this guy really has similar taste to me, and I just was a fan. And then yeah, we met briefly on the street before any of that, before I started acting, before anything, and we talked a little bit about sort of comedic influences in films that we both love. And then yeah, on that set we became fast friends, and then immediately just there was a similar sensibility, and we both wanted to sort of make the same kind of movies. So yeah.
Now you did it. It's a big deal to make a feature directorial debut, and it's a big deal to choose the right story to make that move with. So I guess I have to ask, why Hell of a Summer? Why did this story kind of suit the skill set you thought you already had, but also challenge you to grow as directors?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One, Finn was 16 or 17, and I was 19 years old, and we wanted to write something that had characters that were our age, and our goal was just to try to write a movie, and then we were like, we'll just go shoot it with a bunch of our friends in the woods. So that was that. We just wanted to start with youth and try to write something sort of from our perspective, and that didn't feel like someone else's idea of what young people spoke like, but that also wasn't us chasing what felt contemporary. I don't know what young people talk like. You know what I mean? You can't put that in a movie because it changes so fast. So we just wanted to write a bunch of funny characters that are sort of inspired by people that we grew up with or knew or met, and then the horror element was we had both.
I was a big fan of slashers growing up, and had always wanted to make a slasher film, and had an idea to make a comedy slasher, and was quickly reminded that I had this idea. I had this idea where it's a comedy slasher and it's on a movie set, and then my dad was like, "That's great, and you can see it. It's called Scream 3, and it exists already." And I was like, shit. So then, but when we started talking about this, we sort of had this it came from this joke, this shared joke that we've both actually written. Billy had written a short film that, I mean, you can kind of.
Yeah, I wrote a short film that is kind of like the seed of this movie, really, where it was a bunch of campers and some of them are getting killed off, and they find a kill list and they realize that it's ordered from hottest to least hot. And there's a character who's sort of offended that he's still alive, and by his ranking, he's more upset that he's not hot enough in the eyes of his peers or the killer than he is that like people are dying. So I told Finn that, and Finn was like, "Dude, I wrote the same scene." And his was a little more morbid than mine.
Yeah, mine was a little more morbid, but it was like the same sort of idea, and like then we sort of got onto this concept of, you know, what would we do in a situation like this? Like if there was a really dangerous situation, would you step up and be a hero, or would your insecurities actually come out more? And really the answer is the latter, where, you know, in movies, characters just, like step up. Fred said it earlier where you were saying like I mean, you said something great.
What was it was what
You said something great.
no. It was what they had written was so funny and true to me because you know, sometimes I like see a movie and when things start to go wrong, like the characters immediately become a hero, like opposite to everything that you know of the character beforehand. And something that immediately struck me about what they had written was like all of people's unique and eccentric kind of neuroses and difficulties didn't go away when the slashing started. If anything, it like only exacerbated.
Exacerbates it.
And also the way in which people are heroic in the movie come from the actual character, the way that they are, not some like outside thing that suddenly happens. They have to solve the issue from their sense of self rather than from some outside force. And I was just like very inspired by how they wrote that. It was so character driven. It was a slasher movie, but really it was a coming of age comedy about a group of people having to kind of grow up together.
Oh, I have follow-up questions, because I personally am obsessed with slasher movies and I think about this all day long. Can each of you tell me your favorite slasher movie and also tell me your chances of surviving that movie?
My favorite slasher film, I love, so like Scream 2, I love more than Scream 1 actually. I love Scream 2, and I love Sleepaway Camp is also just like, such a classic, and like it has the most insane, upsetting ending ever. I mean also like all the old like Argento movies, you know, Suspiria is great as well. But
And would you survive?
oh no. No. I would be dead. Like, you know, like at the very beginning where like a phone rings and someone picks it up. I would basically be watching a movie and then the phone would ring and I would get a heart attack from getting scared by the dial, by the way. So I would die. Yeah, very, very quick.
I think my favorite is the first Halloween, and I think I'd get out of there. I really do. I don't think I'd stick around. I think if I knew anything was going on, I'd leave. So I like to think that I'd be all right, but he's a little sneaky. So
Yeah, Michael Myers is just a little sneaky guy. No one ever talks about that. They're just kind of sneaking around.
That's the sweetest way to describe it.
Yes. So
if he did the thing with the sheet over him, and I could get fooled by that. Actually, no, I wouldn't. I'd be annoyed at whoever was doing it. I would keep my distance. I think I could survive the first Halloween movie.
I like how you're saying like you're almost like attracted to my question. Like I could get in on that.
Yeah, I was wrong. I would survive. 100%.
I'm avoiding the question slightly, Perry, because it's not necessarily a slasher movie, but I was thinking about how much I love The Thing, and it's not a slasher movie, but it is like people dying off, and it is a movie that we talked about, and I love Carpenter, and I definitely don't think I would survive it at all.
No one's surviving that.
No.
I don't even think they are.
No one survives, yeah.
And also, nobody said Fear Street. Fear Street is one of the best trilogies in recent years, so much credit to you for that. So the other follow-up question I had thought of when you were talking before, Fred, because I think it kind of leans into why I love Jason in this movie so much, and I hope I articulate this properly, but at the beginning of the movie, he's just like so kind and sincere and a little goofy, but I love the fact that every single step of the way, I still believed in him. I still believed in his fight. So what was the key for you for being able to like play with that goofiness, but also make sure we believe when he was able to step up?
I think what was both what was written and how Finn and Billy directed was like with such deep love of the characters at all times, where life is funny and ridiculous, and I find everyone to be incredibly beautiful and sometimes infuriating and sometimes very funny, and I felt like there was no character that was just a joke, and I felt that was but which is not to say that they're not also sometimes a joke, but even we actually were talking about this earlier today, where the that line when he's talking to Claire and he says that he's camp leader, and she says like, you made that up, and he says doesn't mean it's not true. That always gets, I mean, it is funny and it gets a laugh, but that's also like a line when we first started talking about the movie that felt like a kind of core of it. Like, even though that's
Ridiculous.
a joke, it's also so true, and we believed that it mattered, even though he also made it up. And so I felt like
the whole point is like it's true for Jason, like it's true for him. That's like him. That's his character. Like one line is like, I don't care if it like.
And him acknowledging that he knows who
Yeah.
he is and how people think of him, and it doesn't matter. And that's and he does it his own way.
I did want to ask you guys about casting, because Jason feels so you, Fred. Like, I can't picture a single other actor on this planet playing that role that way. But I was looking back at the TIFF Q&A when you guys premiered there, and I think someone mentioned that when you were casting, everybody read for different roles. Was Jason like Fred and only Fred? Is that the only role you read for?
Fred didn't read for it. We met with Fred because we were such a big fan. Like, we were such big fans of Fred, and I mean.
He really wanted to play Mike, though.
Yeah, it's
I
kinda
still
weird.
do, and I'm still pretty angry about it. I audition for every other role. No.
Yeah, you auditioned for Claire.
Yeah.
And you're really good.
I worked hard on that tape. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, it was one of those things where, from the minute we sat down, like we all had lunch in New York one day, and it was just like the minute we sat down, it was just like, oh, this guy, like he's, so it was, it was pretty immediate, I would say. But yeah, Fred was always Jason.
We had like a 4-hour lunch. I think I drank more tea at that lunch than I've ever drank in my life before.
Yeah, we drank a lot of tea that day.
Feels like the success of a movie like this does kind of hinge on finding the pitch perfect ensemble, and I think you guys really do it here. And you are all like totally unique artists, but I'm curious, when you were casting this movie, did you find maybe a shared quality in all of the actors that kind of signaled to you that when they hit this set, they would be able to play the way that you wanted?
Definitely, yeah. I think that was sort of like the idea of, even when we were writing this movie, like it would be so fun to cast this movie with a lot of like discoveries and fill it with like really talented, there's a few people that are in this movie that are from Toronto that hadn't done other than just like local Canadian stuff, who were just so incredible that we thought it would be a great opportunity to like let them shine. And so we had like some really amazing actors that came in. And it was just one of those things where I think it was the prospect of finding these people that really understood us and understood the script. I mean, it was incredibly important.
The other thing that I really liked is that they played kind of away from the cliche of what their characters could be. Each person brought something unique and sort of different, and like specifically Noelle, this is no disrespect to anybody else who read for that part, but there's a lot of people who came in with this sort of like idea of what that goth character is and what we've seen, and it was sort of more similar to goth characters in other films, and then Julia Lalonde came in with this like weird, like very like kind of out to lunch, like weird,
Spacey, like super incredibly sweet. And
super sweet. Yeah,
it just made it so funny.
It made it so interesting.
She
Yeah.
came in, it was like a lot of people were reading it. More kind of like just deadpan, sort of like more like classic goth, and she came in and just like immediately was so funny because she was just so nice immediately, and it was just like, oh, this is really funny that she looks like this and she's dressed as a goth, but she's like, hi, how are you? Like, it just made us laugh really hard.
Yeah, that moment of like when Jason says something to the effect of like, oh, saw you sitting here all alone. She's like, I'm not alone. And it's it's not like I'm not alone. It's like, oh, she's like 100% believes that she's with other people right now, and I think it really makes it better. And then same thing with everybody. DeFaro was like so funny in his tape and went for it so hard, and the second he like screamed because his toe was stomped on, it was like we were like, oh, this is the guy. He gets it. Same thing, Perdius, like such a funny take on that character, such a smart actor, and like really. So everybody,
yeah, everyone brought their own, and like Daniel, who played Ari, like brought such a like funny intensity to it too. Like I remember watching his tape and just thinking he was so funny because he took it so seriously, and that's just we're just looking for little, subversions, I guess, of the characters.
So good. So to touch on maybe a couple scenes here for each of you, going into filming this movie, which scene did you think was going to be the toughest for you to pull off? And ultimately, was it or did a different scene catch you by surprise?
yes.
Yes.
Great question.
Yeah, we the most difficult sequence that we thought was gonna happen, that we were geared up to film, was the fight sequence, which was like by far the biggest sequence that we had to film in the movie. So we were pretty nervous about it, and we were working with real fire, and it was sort of where most of the money went to, I would say. And so we're like, oh man, like we really hope this works. And then for whatever reason, I think it's just because like we had rehearsed at the time and blocked it out a lot, but like it ended up just going super smooth, and like
It was probably the easiest
Yeah.
scene in the end. Like everybody was just really on top of their game. We really hit our stride, I feel like, as a crew and as just as a production. And it flew by, and I couldn't believe it. It was like, it's a blur in retrospect, but like going home after that day at 6 in the morning and the sun was coming up, and it was a Friday and it was like about to be the weekend, and I felt like, okay, we did it. Like we got that done, and we did that.
It's
The
funny.
hardest scene turned out being the driving scene, like the first scene we're in. I don't like that scene.
Yeah.
It was so hard. We
Well,
were like
also,
way
it's like
behind schedule that day.
It's so funny, like, you think like this big sequence, like that's gonna be the hardest one, and then like you do like the smaller scene, and it's like,
There's glare on the window and I can't hear Finn.
yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that's like we got into the edit and we were just like, oh, this is really, it was super hard to cut, and like all this. So it's just stuff that you don't expect that will be harder than it actually is.
Like simple seeming thing, like entrances and exits from the cabin.
Oh yeah.
Were like some of the trickiest things to figure out, both for where it is in the movie and tonal shifts, and also just the connective tissue of it. Whereas then like this, I remember one of the easiest scenes that was like a really special day early on in the shoot was with Abby Quinn, who plays Claire, and it's this kind of Jason and her first walk and talk, and it was raining earlier that day, and so we weren't going to shoot it. We were going to do it a couple weeks later, and then like the clouds parted, and there was just this perfect light, and in a really inspired way, they figured out how to like do it all in one take, and it just kind of naturally happened. And so it's always, I find, funny like that, where the thing you expect to be difficult isn't, and then the one that you think is easy has its own challenges.
So keep you on your toes when you're making a movie. I'm going to save time for maybe one or two audience questions, but I wanted to make sure for my questions to end on this particular one, because again, it's a really big deal to direct your first feature. And Fred, I also believe this is your first time getting like a full producing credit on a feature film as well. You EP'd Thelma, which everyone go see Thelma if you haven't. There you go. But when you have first like that, I feel like this is a really important question to ask. So in this business, we give each other awards, it's super cool. I find that nobody tells themselves good job as much as they should. So I want to know something you each accomplished making hell of a summer that you'll always be able to look back on and say, you know what, I'm really proud of what I did there.
Oh, that's very sweet. It's get ready for 3 actors to compliment themselves. I think it's hard. It's gonna sound so stupid, but it's so hard making a movie, and so much goes into it, and like we spent, we wrote like Billy said, we wrote the first draft when I was 16 and Billy was 19, and this has been our lives for 6 years coming on, and you go from being a teenager to a young adult, and even though that's not that much time, it is like developmentally a long time, and you go through a lot. And I'm just very proud that like we all just like got through it and like have something to show for it, and like I'm very very proud of the film and like all the work that everyone has done on it.
Yeah, I think that when you're making a movie, there's probably like 24 times when the movie's gonna fall apart, and you're like, I don't know if tomorrow we're gonna have a movie and we don't have a location, or we don't have this, or the money hasn't cleared, or this person's schedule, and like all these things that feel like these like alarms that are sounding constantly, and we just got through all of them, and it was like, oh, the movie fell apart because we can't film it in America, let's just pivot to Canada. Oh, you can't find a summer camp in Canada because it's the year after COVID and every camp is open for the first time in 2 years, and they're all telling you you're crazy for asking if you can film a camp movie during the summer. Oh, we'll go drive and find it ourselves based on a painting that was found on Facebook. It's like that's a longer story, but you just have to keep pushing through, and thankfully we had like a great support system, and like our entire crew, and also just like my family and my friends that were so supportive. And I just feel like I'm just so proud that we were able to get it done, and that you just have to kind of push through all these things because it is possible, but it just takes a lot, and it doesn't always feel easy.
Can I say, Billy's amazing friends in Toronto, during the edit, figured out how to shoot these inserts, just like in a basement that like paired together and made the whole movie come together. It's just like, it was stuff like that where it's really, really incredible.
There is a few like shots and lead-in shots in the movie that like we had to get after the fact, like I think a year and a half after year?
Yeah, like a year,
Or
like even longer. But like a lot of Fred's hands, or my friend Jamie Rogers, like my college roommate's hands, and that support system of young filmmakers that are all so hungry and like wanting to help was really helpful for us, because sometimes you just don't have a shot and you need to just put someone else's hands because you can't fly Fred out to, be holding a knife or something. But I don't think anyone's noticed though, so.
No, they noticed. Oh, they noticed. Now they know.
That right there is true movie magic, though.
Yeah.
It's important to highlight those things.
Yeah, it is crazy. Yeah, there's like the shot of Jason holding the Pineway knife with the blood is just in my Airbnb basement. No, nothing on the, just like, that's
You
it.
got kicked out of that Airbnb.
I did get kicked out of that
You got
Airbnb.
evicted from an Airbnb. That's enough.
Maria! That was the landlord's name. Anyways.
I imagine that's also a long story for another time.
Long
All right,
story. She won't
let's
guess.
see if we can get, oh no, I'm gonna lose sleep over everybody. I don't pick. I'm gonna go right there. Yep.
Okay, awesome. For Billy and Finn, you guys have directed shorts. How was that experience compared to a feature length? And similarly for Fred, how was the difference in like your experience for being an executive producer versus being a producer for this?
We had more than 6 people on set. That
Yeah.
was like, but so you have so many more resources. There's so many people helping you out. But at the end of the day, like the core of it is the same. You just have to have a group of people in the center of something that are very committed to telling a story and making a movie. And like creatively, no matter how much bigger it was, it still is the same feeling of like you're just trying to make something that you're really passionate about. And everybody needs to buy in, whether you're making it for $50 or wouldn't know about 50 million, so who knows, but
You manifest. You will know about 50
And
million.
every,
yes,
this was $50 million and every cent is on screen. Just kidding. It wasn't bad. Fucking
To the producing side, I felt like it was such an organic connection. It only makes both acting and producing together. I feel like it only makes the other easier. One of the things I'm also like most proud of was this team and this crew was truly like built out of a lot of young people who love movies and a lot of people who were taking these leaps for the first time, and I just felt like you're so in the thick of it that you can really know like what people need to feel comfortable and to do their job in the best way, and that was just like, that was so fun to be involved in each part of that.
All right, let's squeeze in one more. I'm gonna go up to the top, right smack in the middle. No, you just look behind. Oh no, that's what people think I called on them.
Thank you. First off, the movie.
We'll come back to you in the black t-shirt after, I promise.
Fast,
Yeah.
The movie was really awesome. It was really funny. We were just saying, like, it would have been awesome to see kind of like a blooper scene because it seems like you guys had really great cast chemistry.
We were just.
Wow.
I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, how hard was it to like stay on script without laughing out loud?
We
Just watched for the first time an hour ago the blooper reel for the first time. We hadn't seen it, and it was really a special experience to watch it all together as well as the movie's coming out. We filmed this movie a couple years ago. We broke a lot, it turns out. Like, it made me remember a lot of things. There were a number of scenes where, I mean, it's hard to keep a straight face.
There's definitely stuff we cut around that are pretty insane, that we were all just like smiling. But yeah, I mean, there will be a blooper reel that'll be out on the Blu-ray if anyone still buys Blu-rays, which I hope you do. And if it's not, if you don't see that, then someone will probably rip it and put it on YouTube, and that's just the sad truth of it. So.
Let's see the movie in theaters in black 5,
Yes,
right?
please.
All right, black t-shirt right smack in the middle. Yes, pointing at yourself.
Oh, you guys are horror buffs and you're now horror writers. Do you guys have a favorite horror writing cliche?
Well, favorite horror writing cliche? I remember we went to go see right before we started filming John Carpenter's The Fog, which I don't know if by show of hands, who's seen that movie? Oh, a lot of people. Wow. That's pretty amazing. That's honestly pretty amazing. That movie's insane. It looks amazing, but there's such funny stuff in it, and it's not like a trope per se, but the first thing that just came to my head was how good John Carpenter is at characters that are what's that? Knowing that something horrible is about to maybe about to happen to them, just the dread of that feeling. I remember there's a scene of all these guys on a boat and they're playing cards, and it's right before. It's a weird movie. But basically, these pirates with leprosy come and just basically end up killing them all. But anyways, horrible answer to your question. Basically, I love John Carpenter, the way that John Carpenter uses suspense. I guess it's not really a trope, but I love it every time I see it.
Fred, do you have an answer to this?
Word trope? I mean, it's a thing. It is always funny when they're go closer to the thing that's scary.
Yeah.
Just generally, just leave.
Back away from it.
But then again, then the times in my life where I have gone sometimes closer to that. I got locked out the other day, and I was almost gonna. I didn't do this, but I was almost gonna try and go in through the side window to jump to a thing to get in through the back of my place, and it would have been incredibly dangerous, but as stupid as any normal horror movie. So I guess I get it.
Yeah, there's the psycho thing where you see the kind of outline of someone in the shower, and you're if I saw that, I would run the opposite direction so fast.
I'm so afraid of getting attacked in the bathroom. So often, I'm at my house and I'm just I feel a sort of compromising position in terms of I'm not wearing clothes or taking shit, sure. I'm just God, I really hope that nobody attacks me now. Because I don't, and then I start thinking could I use this to my advantage in some way? But I don't know why that's not a trope, but that's just something that I often think about. Maybe for the next one.
My mind goes there because of Jurassic Park. That's one of the first times I ever saw that. And when you gotta go, you gotta go. And sometimes you get eaten by a T-Rex.
True.
Housekeeping before we say goodnight. If you would all mind staying seated because they're doing some theater hopping tonight, so they gotta get to another crowd. But also, make sure you see this movie on the big screen again on April 4th. And also spread the word. If you want to see more independently made horror comedies like this, that's what you gotta do. Thank you for being here.